I feel like nobody really noticed this or mentioned this, but a little over a decade ago, Nintendo established an amazing cadence when it came to the Legend of Zelda series. They were able to establish a pattern between new original games and remakes of older games. Like, look, I'm looking at the timeline right here. My left hand will be remakes, my right hand will be new original games. Let's start in 2011. We got Ocarina of Time remake for the 3DS, Skyward Sword, Wind Waker HD, A Link Between Worlds, Majora's Mask 3D, Triforce Heroes, Twilight Princess HD, Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, Skyward Sword HD, and then Tears of the Kingdom. So we got 6 remakes / ports and then 5 new original games. I know a remake and a port, two very different things, but you catch the drift. So after Tears of the Kingdom in 2023, I was expecting a remake. It just kind of felt like that's the pattern that I grew to expect out of Zelda, but instead they surprised me with Echoes of Wisdom, which was a pretty good game. It wasn't bad or anything, it was decent, it had its charm, but I was a little disappointed because I personally love game remakes, and I think there's a lot of older games that could benefit from quality of life improvements. And I really thought we were going to get something. I thought we were going to get maybe Zelda 1, or in particular, these two games right here, the Oracle games that came out for Game Boy Color right around the time the Game Boy Advance was about to release. These games actually have Game Boy Advance like exclusive features and functionality, which is pretty cool. And these games are special for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that they weren't made by Nintendo. Now, a lot of people like to say that they were made by Capcom, but really they were made by Flagship, which is like a subsidiary of Capcom. They no longer exist, which sucks, but they made a pretty interesting list of games. They made these two Zelda games and Minish Cap on the Game Boy Advance. They made Kirby and the Amazing Mirror and Kirby Squeeze Squad and a couple of other games. It's kind of like a weird situation. I would love to read up more on them. If anybody has like a link to a page that has their history, I would love to read it. Please maybe like shoot it to me in the comments. But yeah, an outside team from Capcom made these two Oracle games, and they were really ambitious. They were originally meant to be 3 games. I think it was going to be 1 for each goddess. So one would have been Wisdom, and then Power, and then Courage. But it was a bit too much, and they cut it down to 2 games. Now, if you read up on the development of these games, I think Oracle of Seasons was like actually beginning to be a Zelda 1 remake, which I would have loved to see on the Game Boy Color, but we didn't get that either. And instead what we got here are 2 distinct 2D Zelda games in the style of Link's Awakening. And this might be a hot take for my fellow Zelda fans out there, but I never really loved these 2 games the same way everybody else seems to. I beat Seasons many years ago, and I got about 6 or 7 dungeons into Ages. Now, I don't think Nintendo or Flagship or Capcom ever advertised these games like this, but the fans like to say that Oracle of Seasons is more combat heavy. There's going to be better bosses, there's more enemies on the screen, and Ages is more puzzle heavy. You have cooler items to use in dungeons, and there's just a lot more intricate puzzles in Oracle of Ages. These games feel so separate from the rest of the Zelda series because they don't take place in Hyrule, and there's no Zelda or Ganon unless you link them together, and those 2 characters only show up at the very end. So these are very strange Zelda games, much like Link's Awakening, which doesn't take place in Hyrule. Princess Zelda is not in Link's Awakening, and Ganon has a very small cameo in Link's Awakening. So it's kind of cool that like all 3 Game Boy Color games just have nothing to really do with the rest of the Zelda lore or timeline. I really appreciate that. And there's also like weird animal companions that you run into and you can ride to get over obstacles. There's a lot of influence from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask in these games. Like, I believe in Oracle of Ages, the hand from the toilet in Majora's Mask is in that game. There's also the Happy Mask Salesman from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask in these games. And of course, Oracle of Ages kind of just screams Ocarina of Time with the way there are 2 different versions of the overworld. There's the past overworld and then the present overworld, which is really cool. These games, again, are so ambitious, and I want to be clear here. These are not bad games. They're not even like games. They're good games. But I think there's one Achilles heel to them, and it's not even really their fault. It's just they came out a little too early. They are stuck on the Game Boy Color, and To be honest with you, I don't think that's a very good system for a Zelda game. Because when the team at Nintendo was making Link's Awakening, they wanted to see if they could make a game like A Link to the Past on the go. And for the most part, they achieved. And at the time, I'm sure if I was around when Link's Awakening and these Oracle games came out, I would have like exploded out of joy to have Zelda on the go. But nowadays, it's just not really convenient because unlike A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, in these games, your sword and your shield are items, they are not gear, because there's only 2 face buttons, which means if you want to attack an enemy, you have to go into the menu and make sure your sword is equipped. If you want to use your shield to defend yourself from projectile attacks, you have to go into the menu and make sure your shield is equipped. If you want to solve a puzzle in a dungeon using a specific item, you have to go into the menu and make sure that specific item is equipped. And Flagship/Capcom quickly remedied that issue with their next Zelda game, Minish Cap on Game Boy Advance, because in that game you could equip one item to the R button, which made things so much smoother. That means your sword was always on the B button, your shield was always on the L button, and you had the R button for one item. You did not have to go into the menu 5,000 times just to get your items right. It's very, very annoying. I first played Link's Awakening DX when it came to the 3DS eShop, and I quickly fell in love with it. To be honest, back when I was younger, I was just way more open to older, clunkier styles of gameplay. I can still adapt nowadays, but I kind of choose not to a lot of the times. And when the remake came out, I instantly fell in love with it, and I just knew this was going to be the definitive way I was going to play Link's Awakening from the future. I can't really ever see myself going back to the original version of Link's Awakening. I think that toy-like art style fit Link's Awakening so perfectly because there's a plot twist a little bit into Link's Awakening that I don't want to spoil, but if you know why I say that. I love that toy aesthetic. I love that toy Link. I love the way the characters look. I love the way they adapted the music. And honestly, with what I was saying earlier about these Oracle games not taking place in Hyrule, not having the characters that you would expect to see, they feel so separate that it almost feels kind of like not real, which the toy art style would really, really benefit. And I can just see it in my head right now. Like I can see Ralph the Wizard from Oracle of Ages. I can see Din and Nehru and the Witch from Oracle of Ages. And I can see the different seasons and how good that would all look in this art style. And it's killing me. I don't know why Nintendo hasn't done it yet. Like, dude, you know damn well that if they did that, Nintendo would charge $70 for each game. And then they would have like a double pack for maybe like $100, right? So you would save a good chunk of change if you just got the double pack. And I don't know, I find it really frustrating that they haven't done it yet. Personally, the only idea or theory that I can come up to as to why they won't is because maybe they just don't see them as like true Zelda games or like part of the Nintendo heritage because they weren't made by them. But despite that, they actually do a good job at not ignoring those 3 Flagship/Capcom games. They put the Oracle games on the 3DS eShop, they put Minish Cap on the 3DS Ambassador system, and then they just put all 3 games on the Switch like virtual backwards compatibility, whatever the hell they're called. It's not called Virtual Console anymore. So they don't totally ignore these games. And I'm sure with the Oracle games, it's like kind of annoying to bring them over because again, there's like a password system where the games communicate to each other. But I'm just wondering like, why are they avoiding them? Because I'm looking at a list of Zelda games here right now. And if they wanted to keep up that awesome pattern of, remake, new game, there's not many Zelda games that would really benefit from a remake anymore. Like, I think it would be a sin to touch A Link to the Past. That's how A Link Between Worlds started, and then they knew better. Like, they knew not to do that. It wasn't necessary. Of course, you could do Zelda 1. That would be very interesting. I don't think that toy art style would personally benefit Zelda 1, but it would be cool. Then there's Adventure Link Zelda 2, a side-scrolling game. Who knows? Maybe they could do that. I highly doubt they ever will, but that could be interesting. And then from there, it's like, there's really nothing that needs one. Maybe they could do Ocarina of Time again. I wouldn't mind that. Again, I would love like a double pack of like Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D, but they seem kind of hell-bent on not doing that, the same way they seem hell-bent on not getting Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD on Switch, which is bizarre. And then from that, you just got weirder games like Four Swords Adventures. I don't think anyone's really clamoring for a remake of those. It could be cool to get Four Swords Adventure on like the Switch GameCube backwards compat, but no remake really necessary. And then after that, you got Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, which, listen, I know Spirit Tracks has its fans, so maybe they could do something with that. But honestly, the last Zelda games that I think could truly shine from a remake, a fresh coat of paint, quality of life improvements, are the Oracle games. And I really hope that if I'm right and they have like a sense of pride against these games, that they wake up and realize like, no, like, these games are good and they deserve to be introduced to a new modern audience and just fix up some of the cracks, right? Like some of the flaws, because they are flawed. And again, it's not really the game's fault. It's just that they came out too early. They were a product of their time and a product of their ambition. But I do like these games and I just kind of want to see them at their highest potential. What do you think? Do the Oracle games deserve a remake? Would you rather see a different Zelda remake? Would you rather just no remakes at all and just have Nintendo focus on new Zelda games? Let me know down below in the comments. I will reply. I'm interested. Thank you so much for watching my video. Have an amazing day.